Hey, this is Jim. Welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio, another episode with a guest today, which means if you're watching on YouTube, you already know this, you can see what's happening. But if you're a listener who typically listens to the audio, you're going to have a chance to meet our guest today, Mr. Eric Borgeson. And he actually was on podcast episode number 74 back in 2017. It was just after my family had just lost our house in a lightning strike, house fire. Crazy year, but that's the last time we heard from Eric. And he has grown since then. He's got some updates for us. He's doing a lot of wholesale. He's starting to get into replens. He's just barely dipping his toe into that. He's doing some of the other business models that we teach as well. He's got a team of 5 people, works from home, which is tremendous. He doesn't have an actual office where all of his employees gather. He works from home. And as we were wrapping up the episode, actually, he said, "Hey, got to go. Picking up my kid from school." So it's great. He's home with his family and he's built an incredible business. They hope to do about $3 million in business this year. He said we're here in February 2021, and that's his goal for 2021 is about $3 million at a great net. And he's going to talk more about that in today's episode. A few of the things that stood out to me today about this guest in this episode were we don't really dive off too much into his story. It's mainly just diving right into the results he's getting, the strategies he's using, a few times that he's bumped his head and stubbed his toe. Some of the, one of the questions I ask him is, have you ever made any big buying mistakes with wholesale? Have you ever gone too deep into a certain inventory product? I asked him, how does he find his wholesale products? And he gave some great creative answers there too. I think you're really going to enjoy today's episode. The one thing he does mention, and we talk about it a little bit, is bundles. And I'm going to stick a note in the show notes for that. So right below this, wherever you're listening or watching, right below wherever you're consuming this content today, there's an area with some notes. Go to silentjim.com and you'll see the show notes. We'll have a link to everything we talked about today, the different courses, the content. And one last thing before I bring Eric on the show. If you're not on our update list, you really should be. The fact is Facebook and email are getting less and less reliable as a way to communicate out to a great member of our community like you. If it's been a while since you've got an email from us, it's not because we stopped sending you email. It's because it's getting hard to send an email out to a group of people who want to hear from you. Same thing with Facebook. If we're not showing up on your Facebook feed, well, Facebook is only got so much inventory and they're filling it up with other stuff besides us. The best way to make sure that you don't lose track with us is 2 things. Well, do all 3, actually. Get in our Facebook group. There's a link at silentjim.com. Get on our email newsletter list for sure. You want to be there too, because we do send out great stuff. It's not a pitch fest. It's just, hey, here's a new podcast episode. Hey, here's an opportunity for an event that's coming up. It's a lot. It's 90% content and 10% us paying the bills by being one of the premier creative internet marketing training organizations in the world. But the third way is the one I want to emphasize. If you go to silentjim.com/updates, all 3 of the links I just talked about are there, silentjim.com. But you can get on our update list so your smartphone alerts pop up whenever we've got a new podcast episode or whenever we've got an important special date that you want to be aware of. We don't abuse it. We don't spam you. We just let you know, hey, new podcast episode today. Here's the topic. If you're interested, here's a link to listen. And it pops up as an alert, kind of like getting a text message. It just means you need to download the free app called Telegram. And once you've done that, we step you right through how to find our announcement page and get those alerts as they pop in. So go to silentjim.com/updates and you'll get alerts when we have new episodes. All right. With that rather lengthy introduction, it's time to bring on our guest. I think you're really going to enjoy hearing from him again. And if you didn't go back and listen to podcast episode number 74, maybe check it out so you can kind of get a feel for where he was. And his business has lasted and grown. And some really good lessons in there today. So enjoy this episode. I'll talk to you on the other side. So Eric, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me back. It's been a while.
It has been, and the world has changed a little bit since then. Time for an update, huh?
It's always time for an update. It's always good.
Let's hear what's been going on since last we heard from you back in episode 74.
A lot's been going on. We've been still doing some of the similar things we've been doing before, growing our wholesale lines. Took a little while off. COVID came and still here. We're still growing with that. So we're getting a whole new group of issues. Amazon came out with their IPI restrictions. Those caused a whole new set of issues, and their limitations on 200 units for every new SKU and things like that. So we're learning, it's a very flexible business. You learn as you go, and you never a dull day.
That's right. It's real time instead of just in case education. It's just in time educating yourself on what you need today. Right. That's the journey.
Correct.
So what are some of those challenges you've hit? Some of those hurdles you've overcome? I mean, just fill us in, man. Pick it up from where we left off. I guess maybe even.
Okay. So from years ago, you have to learn to create. As you create your team, you have to create processes to create your team and processes to do things and schedules, so that you can actually better keep on track, on schedule. Or as you get bigger and your time gets more valuable, you'll actually find out that you have less and less time to get more stuff done. And if you don't have a good schedule and you can't outsource it, or you can't just have someone else do it for you, then all of a sudden you have too much burden on you, and then the rest of your life starts to suffer. And we don't want to see that happening.
Sure. So your life has been about managing people and building systems.
Well, that's so for the last year, it's been about creating systems and creating more management of people and getting people to do what they're supposed to be doing, and then really being part of your business, as opposed to them just being in your bit, like doing, it's like trying to get them to be more, just know their role and doing their role for their business, instead of trying to do everyone being a jack of all trades in your business. You don't want them to do that. You want them to have one function, and this is what it is, and be the master at that one function.
Yes. And there may be some people out there who consider themselves very business savvy who would disagree with that. But actually, you've just hit on one of the timeless truths. This is actually a biblical concept, and I won't take time to dive into it too much, but the law of specialization is very much just a core principle that we all need to adapt. Not that you can't be good at several different pieces, but you need to have someone who is the best at any different piece, any different component of your business as it grows and you're building a team. When you start out, you're going to be wearing all the hats, but your business will be capped at what you're capable of cramming into a day, obviously. And that can be a beautiful thing, Eric. I mean, we have people in this community. I would venture to say most listeners to this podcast, it's just them, or maybe them and a spouse, and maybe a kid or a neighborhood kid, and that's great. That's beautiful. I mean, we've got people with 7-figure businesses. That's their team. But you got something bigger than that. And I think one of the valuable things maybe we can pull from here is, you start talking about specialization and building a team. Like, who do you hire first? What part of your operation is it important to automate? Just think through some of those stumbling blocks maybe that have helped you grow to the level you are. Share some of those numbers. Just take us wherever you want to go. There's all kinds of interesting ways we can go on someone who's built a healthy business.
Yeah. So in the beginning, I didn't look at that as truth where you don't hire family first. So I hired family first. So that's fine. So you have your family there, but then it causes stress and strife elsewhere. So I try to get my wife out of the business as fast as possible. So she's been out for 3 years or so. So she hasn't really helped out with it, and that's fine. So she can do things that actually she enjoys doing and things that she wants to do. Some of the first things I got rid of are things like, you have to compare like what you value your hour of your life at for time. So for me to label products and put them in bags and label the bags and order those bags for them to get labels on them, to then shipping, to putting UPS shipping labels on them, to do all these steps, those weren't worth my time anymore. Like, because there are jobs you can get rid of for $12, $14 an hour, whatever you want to offsort them to, where I can do something that's worth more money to my business and to growing the business that will make more money in the long term. You actually
figured out what an hour of your time is worth? Have you assigned a number to that based on not just intuition, but like actually running the numbers?
It's $175 an hour.
And that's based on running the numbers of your business.
Mm-hmm. That's like after all sales and everything is done, time divided by how much time I've put into the business over the year. That's where I came up with my $175 an hour figure.
Is phenomenal. So what that frees you up to do then is like you just described. If I could be paying someone $12 an hour to do this job, I should be. Right. It goes back to the only do the things that only you can do. Once you have sufficient revenue being generated in your business, you start thinking about those. Any repetitive task is where I like to start, Eric, right? Did you kind of start there? Any repetitive task?
Yep. So like the reimbursements, like Amazon losing your stuff in their system. It's a
Mhm.
task that, there's a company, they'll take 25% of whatever they recover. Fine, go do it. It's not worth the, so they send me a bill every week and they're like, well, here's $100 that we need that represents 25% of the stuff that they recovered. Okay, great. I didn't just spend an hour dealing with seller support. I didn't just spend, I was not hitting my head against the wall. I'm letting someone else hit their head against the wall to
That's
figure,
right.
to click the buttons, get the stuff done, and to get those things done.
Yeah, that's thinking like a business owner. It's thinking in systems.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not the best person for the job, well, I don't even want to put it that way. There'll be plenty of times where you think you're the best person for the job. And that's actually one of the first hurdles when you start bringing on team members is you're thinking, it's just easier if I just do it myself. I don't have time to train somebody. They're never going to be as good as me anyway. And one of the things you learn, I'd be interested to hear that you're now that you've brought a few people onto the team and let a few people go from the team. Is it true for you, as I certainly know it is for me, that I overestimate how much time it's going to take for me to explain a process to like a new hire, let's say. They catch on so ridiculously quick. And even as I'm explaining, I'm thinking, this isn't complicated. Why did it take me so long to bring some help in? And within like 3 days, they're better at it than you ever thought you'd be because that's their job. Have you experienced that?
I've experienced that in some aspects. I'm not a very good teacher though at sometimes. So, but I just tell them like, look, do the same way I would have learned, or the same, like learn it at your own speed. If it takes them a week to figure out how to do a task, then it took them a week to figure out how to do a task. And then they're the master of that task and they know how the process goes to get there.
Yeah.
To
And
get
within a
that
few
task
days, they're
done.
improving your process even
Yeah.
because they want it to be, they want it to run smooth. They're making suggestions and absolutely. So how big is your team?
But I have a 5-person team at the moment.
Fantastic.
I 2 years ago, I had talked with my accountant and I thought I had 1099 employees. And it turns out I don't have 1099 employees. They're not independent contractors. They're actually employees. So that came a whole new set of hurdles of, okay, but now I'm a real business. It's like I have payroll, I have healthcare, I have,
Right.
dental plans, 401k. It's like all of a sudden you're like, oh, I have all these things now.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother episode. Maybe we could bring a
I'm an
accountant on at
expert in,
some
yeah.
point. Is it a 1099 or is it an employee? And this, this is an international podcast now. So for anyone outside of the United States, that's just basically helping us determine, okay, do I have to call this person an employee or can they work when they want to work, where they want to work on their own terms and they're kind of a contractor? And that's important because they're an employee. We got to withhold taxes. and,
Yes.
and
And I learned that
everything else that
hard
goes
lesson.
along with hang
As
up
we talked about,
posters that no one reads and all kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah. The payroll people, you need to get these posters. Why?
Yeah. Like, where do I put them in my garage? Yeah. Okay, sure.
Yeah. I learned about the IRS. The IRS is a fun person. We call them entity. In my first 2 years of business, I really didn't think much about them. And then they hit you with a $36,000 bill. My accountant did my bill. He's like, oh, you got it. And I'm like, not in my bank. maybe in 2 weeks.
It's an
4
inventory.
weeks.
Yeah. Wow. Well, and I could very easily jump on my soapbox and we won't do that, but it is pretty frustrating to me that the biggest hurdles you will hit as a business owner by far, hands down above the next 10 things you'll run into is your own government. It's just brutal. So that's unfortunate, but because you could grow so much faster without all the red tape. But that's just me jumping off on the minor soapbox. But getting back to let's help people build businesses, man. That's how you overcome all those hurdles as you just grow, you build, you serve well. Tell us what you do. What type of business programs are you following? And I didn't go back and listen to episode number 74. Maybe some of our listeners will.
So what I did was I started out with like everyone starts out with the retail arbitrage model. Not everyone, but most people start with the retail.
A lot of people do. Yeah. Scanning barcodes back then.
Scanning
sure.
barcodes. So with COVID, scanning barcodes has become much harder than it used to be because everybody and their sister now wants to be an online business. They all want to do online sales, and they all took the YouTube classes and read some stuff. They say, "Oh, go scan some barcodes. I'll be good." Okay, but then comes the gating and whatnot. So I would tell everyone, if you want to start with bras. Actually, bras from Kohl's are one of the best retail arbitrage investments you will ever make.
At least they were until this podcast episode was produced.
Until this podcast. It's not a BOGO for exactly the one because it's clearance based. So if you go to their clearance racks, you can find anywhere from $3 to $10 bras and sell them for upwards of 25 to 40 on Amazon for one. Your wife will love the Kohl's cash that you bring home. and she'll run out of things to spend it on. So that's a great
That's
way
a
to
great
start.
tip.
That's a
I
great
don't
way
think
to
we've
build
ever
up
heard
your
that tip before.
yeah.
That is, if that's the old model of just go in and scan a few barcodes and you're going to see like, okay, this is $4 right here and it's selling for 26 on Amazon. Fast. Yeah, I'll grab some of these. Right.
Yeah. So then, but I still employ, for the most part, you go the inch deep and the mile wide. Some of the stuff I do I'll call it crater. A crater being like, I'll buy 300 of something or 360. If you test buy it to make sure it's going to sell like 24 to 36. And then once you've sold out in a day of all those, then you start buying more and more until you hit your crater of, oh no, we just replenish 360 every 2 weeks. And, your wholesaler loves you for that.
When you say inch deep, mile wide, I think most people know what we're talking about, but that's just the overall strategy of our community is even if you come up with some incredible private label product, it's not like you found the holy grail of success on Amazon because you're going to have competitors. You're going to have people that go, oh, wow, I could tweak that product just a little bit. Someone in China ship 5,000 of them to Amazon and bury this guy with a bunch of fake reviews. It's not like finding the holy grail of one private label product is, some kind of nirvana. You're going to have competitors coming after you. I call them margin monsters. So what we do is we go an inch deep and mile wide, meaning we've got a little bit of a bunch of different things going on. And every once in a while, I like your term crater. Like, okay, this product really works. Let's go a little deeper on this. Wow, every time we send in 30, they're selling the same day. Let's go ahead and send in 300, right? So you ease your way in. You're not ordering 10,000 units from China, filling your garage, and then hoping to sell them over the next few months. It's easing your way into what's working. So you're turning that inch deep, mile wide. You got a few craters in there, some different places, right? I love that term.
Yeah.
Where you
so you get the craters in there. The craters, like you just get used to, like the margin monsters do come occasionally and destroy the product for maybe a month or so, but then they disappear because they're like, oh, there's no money in that product. I only made a quarter because the repricer is set to drop everyone's price to a cent below everybody. No one wins.
So you just wait it out. That's right.
You wait it out. And then all of a sudden,
what's the longest you've waited out? Let's say you've got 100 units of something and someone comes along and they're bad at math or something and they just, you're losing $1 per sale and they try to tank the price. You lock your price in where it belongs and you wait. What's the longest you've waited?
Well, it depends on who it is. If it's Amazon themselves who came in and started, Amazon themselves has come in and just taken over listings of brands. Like they didn't used to carry this one guinea pig food, but now they do. And they have 1,000 plus in stock. I use like how much extension or Keepa extensions and those to see how much people have in stock.
Right. RevSeller does that too. RevSeller
does that too. I have so many extensions. I don't know who's responsible for what.
You probably need an extension audit.
I have a whole bar across the top of my screen of extensions.
Sure.
But so with that, I'll outweigh. So if they only have like 30, and if it's a fast selling product for 30, they'll be gone within a week or two. So there's no sense in chasing after them. But sometimes if they have a lot more, say they have 3 months that's going to sit there, well, then I have to go after a month to see if they didn't do their math correctly. Then Amazon has their excess listing report that they have that they can show you that says, oh, this many products will last this long here. It makes you look at that and go, oh, I haven't sold any in 90 days. I look at everything on the 90-day level. Like if it says 0 for 90 days, then I go back and reevaluate, why am I not selling that product? Does it need an ad push?
So you wait for 90?
I do.
Because we start looking about 60 personally. But because at 90 is when you start getting hit with, if I remember correctly, someone else does this for me, but that's when you start getting hit with storage fees.
6 months, 180 days and 360.
180. Okay.
6 months. Yeah, they do. The long-term storage fees come out twice a year. So it's the 100. So it's every 6 months.
Right. So you have
if you don't start moving it.
That's right. But we do look at, if it hasn't moved in 60 to 90 days and you've sold 0, you kind of are looking at something that, you want to evaluate and see what's going on here. You certainly don't want to be sending more of it in if it's not selling in 60, 90 days.
Yeah. No, you don't want to send any more in. You also want to try to, as much as we all talk about Amazon and love Amazon and the whole place, the world has become so diversified now in the last 2-3 years with so many more marketplaces. Like Facebook has their marketplace now, and Mercury's around now, and Amazon. I'm on eBay, Walmart. These people all want you to sell on their platforms.
Right.
And they're trying to figure out a way. Like Walmart contacted me directly 2 years ago and said, "We want you. Here's our application, fill it out." And then I had the manager of the online thing called and was like, "All right, let's get this set up." And then within a week we were set up on Walmart. When people
Now,
were
was
like
this
banging
for
their heads.
some of your, and these weren't private label products, right? These were,
No, these were just standard products off of from my wholesalers that they know that I sold on Amazon, and they just were like, "We want you to sell these products on our website as well."
that's awesome.
So I don't
That's
know.
awesome. It is a little more challenging right now to get onto Walmart, but still, many people
Mhm.
are getting on there successfully. From a big picture vantage point, and we're kind of bouncing all over the place, but I can envision the segment of our listening audience that's loving today's episode because it's a little deeper than what we usually get. Uh, but we need to keep in mind that Amazon is half of all transactions online in the United States. So
Mhm.
Walmart, eBay, Facebook Marketplace, Mercari, all these other places are sharing the other half.
Yes.
They are the giant in the room. So, yeah, you want to pay attention to those other options, but the giant in the room is clearly Amazon.
It is
Hands
clearly
down.
Amazon. Like on eBay, if I eBay something versus Amazon, you're selling 95 on Amazon to the 5 on eBay.
Exactly. So you don't want to ignore eBay, but
No. But eBay is also a great place when Amazon changes the rules about something.
mhm,
Like I came home one day to an email and Amazon said, I sold baby formula originally on Amazon. And they sent out an email and says, if you do not have a letter direct from the manufacturer as of April something, I forget what it was, April this date, you will no longer be able to sell baby food formula on Amazon. It's just cut and dry. Okay. Within a week, I
how
had a
much
pallet,
formula did you have at the time? How much did you have?
325 cases.
Cases with 6 to
Cases.
12 in each case kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. And so they sent them all back. Here's Amazon's truck showing up, dropping pallets in my driveway, going, here's your product back. They didn't care how it got there, what happened. They're like, here you go. So I've had to eBay it off since, and eBay is one of the few places you could actually, you just have to.
Give me some numbers. Like,
So
did you
three,
take a hit? You still got some? Did you
I still
sell
have
it?
29 cases left.
Of the,
But we
how many did you say? 300 and
325.
that
So we're
was
down
how
to,
long ago? A couple of years?
well, this one's from a year ago. They,
Year
they
ago.
they weren't quick on all of their baby formulas to ship them all back.
Yeah, they trickle in. And I
Yeah.
have noticed too when Amazon says, hey, you can't sell this anymore. We're going to send it back to you. Go ahead and keep selling them for a while.
Yeah, they post the April letter, but then June they come back, or July or August, or
Yeah. And so in the meantime, they're still selling them.
yeah, they're still selling.
Yeah.
Or they're borrowing to sell them.
Which cracks me up. It's happened to us a good handful. We tend not to go that deep on any product, by the way.
Okay.
And because I'm always thinking, okay, if Amazon turned off this little piece of my mile wide formula here, if they turn off this little piece, I don't want to be so deep that I'm filling my warehouse with it. So we tend to bump against the zero inventory available quite frequently with our strategy. But what I have noticed is when from time to time Amazon will say, which happens to all of us, hey, you can't sell this product anymore for whatever random reason that doesn't make any sense. Who cares? We just can't. They tend to sell out of it before they ever send it back to us. It's like, okay, we can't sell it anymore. That means don't buy anymore, but it's going to be 6 weeks, like you said, before they take any action on it.
Yeah.
As
But the
far as
other way to
sending it
look
back
about
to you.
that,
In the meantime, they're selling it. We drop our price a little bit and get rid of all of it before they have a chance to send it to us.
exactly.
Right?
But I was gonna say too, that also opens up the segment though, where some of the other products, like, oh, they're like some of the other things we've run into is like EPA. They've really gotten about EPA and pesticides lately. Like, this is a pesticide product. It's a shoe.
Right.
Because somewhere it said antimicrobial, the robots picked it up. It's,
It had a keyword in there that triggered the bot to think that it was, some kind of poisonous substance when it's
So I use that actually as an opening point where now I can sell that. So everyone else on Amazon's now kicked off. Amazon Zero doesn't exist on it. Well, then I just bring it to the other marketplaces that I'm open to and say, hey, I have this I have this shoe, or I have this other product that they deleted off. So now everybody who's going to Amazon to buy that product now has to go somewhere else to buy it online. So that 50% market share just became zero. And then that 100% is now where the 50% was.
absolutely follow you. Yeah. You can jump onto the other marketplaces and you'll see as Amazon gets, their lawyers decide, hey, we can't sell this anymore. Well, that just means it's going to be super popular on eBay.
Yeah, exactly.
And, we saw that some with, it was easy to predict. I remember when Nike first started cracking
Mm,
down and said, only the latest models that we send to Amazon, that's the only thing that's going to be on Amazon. We don't like all these third-party sellers selling 3 year ago models of our shoes. And I don't know how that's settled out since, because I haven't paid attention to it. We don't sell Nikes, but one of the ripple effects that was easy to predict was eBay's going to be selling a ton of Nikes. And sure enough, they were. And so everybody just went over there. It's like the Nike customers figured out real fast, unless you want right now's latest model at Nike's retail price, go to eBay, because that's where all the product is.
mm-hmm.
Sure enough, right? So I love that there's these warring platforms out there keeping Amazon honest and keeping their lawyers from ruling the world, basically. Just when they think they've got us, like, hey, that's all right, we'll take our product over there. So I love that we kind of went down this road, because a lot of people see these challenges that come along and we'll hear these complaints. It's like, oh no, Amazon told me I can't sell this product anymore. It's been selling so great for me. Well, are you on eBay? Have you tried Facebook Marketplace? Put together a bulk lot of 60 of whatever it is and sell it to another seller. Craigslist. Something. I mean, there's 100 options.
That's where I'm also looking forward to. I actually signed up for your replens course, not your replens course,
And
the
you haven't
bundling
done
course.
replens yet.
I did replens course. I did the replens course. That got me reinvigorated back to. It made me want. After 2 years, I got burnt out a little bit and stopped. So I was like, well, I want to get back into this. I want to get back to the basics of where it all started, and then to teach my people who I bring on the team, if I can just push them through a course and go, here's where I learned it, here's where I'm going to push you through for you to learn. So I took the replens course that's on here. I think it was $97, either $69, $97, whatever it is.
The price right now, it's only $29, but that's because of COVID. We just didn't want the price to be a restriction for anybody. Proven Amazon course, you get all of it for $29 a month. The replens course is a module in there.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So that was a great course that opens your eyes about, because it's like, oh, I don't have that Walmart store in my backyard. Well, they ship for free now for orders over $45. There's no hurdle. Like, any order you place an online order, you're going to spend $45.
Yeah. Well, and Eric, I mean, we've got people in, Slovakia and Canada and small islands I've never heard of that are countries, apparently, that they don't have an Amazon warehouse and no one there buys stuff on Amazon, but they've set up an Amazon.com US account. They're shopping on Walmart.com, for example, having it sent to a prep partner. Like, that could be a little side gig that you do. It's like, hey, I'll take on 2 or 3 people and I'll prep their stuff for them and charge them $1 a piece or a couple bucks a piece, right? So you're happy to do it. It's part of your routine. It's another way to generate income, and you're sending their stuff in for them as they're buying it and having, the prep partner model. People all over the country, all over the world, using that model with replens, because it's just so stinking simple. So I don't even know what your business model is yet. I probably mentioned it in the introduction, which is recorded after this. But fill us in on your model. Is it mainly wholesale?
It's mainly wholesale. It's like 95% wholesale, because it just gets, as you grow so big, you don't have time to run around the stores to go find the latest replens item. Hiring a team member to go into a store to try to go find replens is also, because they want to leave after a little while. Like, you have employees that go into 2 groups. You have the ones who are ambitious enough that once they learn the process, they want to do it themselves. Or you have the people who are like, they're just happy to go do whatever you tell them. And they can see the model every day, but they have no means to replicate your model at all. They have no interest in
no interest. Sure. Sure.
So that turned more into
we do have people who are, I mean, myself included, we have shoppers, they go out, they find stuff, we reimburse them. I mean, it could be, it's a pretty sweet model. Just add more shoppers, and pay them per performance.
Yeah. So it's me trying to figure out what the performance pay was my hard part.
Right.
But now I'm looking, so with the wholesale model, though, where you can order the 240 out of a single item appeals to me, or the 120.
Sure.
And have it delivered in a few days.
How often do you get burned with too much inventory?
Well, it goes back with the inch deep. Occasionally, I'd say 5 items a month. Maybe not 5. What do you mean by burned? How big of a burn does it have to be? Is it just
you're thinking like, wow, I just lost several $1,000s because I over-ordered, and I don't know what I'm going to do with this stuff.
That's happened twice. Once I ordered these items, talked to the sales rep. He's like, great, you can sell them on Amazon, sell them wherever you want. She said to me, Amazon, I got an intellectual property violation for the squeaker inside the animal toy. So you call your sales rep and he goes, "Oh, you're stuck." Like the sales rep was fired already, and you're stuck with a $10,000 order of squeaky toy animals.
What'd
So
you do with them?
I still have $5,000 of squeaky toys if anyone
I love
wants
it.
them.
So I
But
know what
that was
everybody who has a dog in your family gets for Christmas since then, right?
yes. So that actually brings me into I'm looking forward to doing the bundles course. Is it this week or next week? I think it's
As
next
we're recording this, it starts up tomorrow, but
tomorrow. Excellent.
yeah, we'll stick a link to that in the show notes for those
Okay.
who are listening to this, several weeks after it was recorded. Yeah, we're updating our bundles training.
The bundles training. So I'm looking forward to doing bundles training because your margin's way better in a bundle. No one's
Yes.
going to copy your bundle. You can make copy proof bundles. And some of those products we had talked about before where Amazon didn't like them in the one way, well, you can still put them in a bundle and then maybe they'll like them another way.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And something else we're toying with right now, which is pretty exciting, is being able to come up with your own A+ content for a bundle brand registered, even though it's generic items that others people could source. You got some of your own stuff in there. And you've seen some of these, where it's like 3 bottles of hot sauce and a measuring spoon with someone's logo on it, right? But getting in with some intentionality around that strategy and really helping lock down bundles. Yeah, this bundle training will eventually expand into that. This
Okay.
bundle training we're doing right now is it's revisiting the basics and cleaning up our process and making sure everyone knows how to get the right barcodes on the product and that sort of thing. You'll really enjoy it. And it may be a good way to get rid of those squeaky toys too.
That's why I'm taking it, is so I can put my 3 or 4 squeaky toys in one squeaky toy bundle and just move them. Because at that point, I'd be happy to get the money. But that's the thing too; they don't expire. They're just space taker uppers.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time till you figure it out.
Exactly.
Love it. Well, that's good to know though, because playing around with orders of 100 or 200 or 400 of anything, we don't do a whole lot of that in our model that I do. I know other sellers that do. A lot of wholesalers do, but you can find yourself getting burned. But it's good to know that you've only kind of felt like you were burned a couple times.
Yeah. So the squeakers were I guess the other burn was when I bought a pet powder for a dog, like it's a pet vitamin for a dog. And then the company turned around 2 months later and started selling it Amazon Direct. And at that point, you're like, I have $25,000 of your product on my shelf. And so I ended up losing like $1,500, I guess, on that. $1,500.
Not bad.
No, it's not. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's burned, but it's not.
Yeah.
Scorched earth.
What'd you do? You went down to the price they were selling it at and sold through it?
Yes, I dropped the price, sold through it, and then listed some on eBay and did some to Walmart.
Yeah. There's always creative paths forward. That's the beauty of the replens model and the wholesale model too. You can confidently, you don't want to just be throwing money into the wind. You want to do your research. Ideally, it's something that is doing well right now. You don't buy it if it's not doing well right now, and will be doing well for the foreseeable future before you go deep. And there's always a creative way to move. Let's do this, so people have a point of reference. How many different wholesale items have you sold? We've gotten burned on a handful. How many different?
1,800.
Yeah. See, so I would have guessed a smaller number than that. So of the 1,800 times that you've done this, a handful of times, we could probably get creative and come up with a list of 10 or 15. You're like, in hindsight, probably shouldn't have bought that. Right?
Yeah. But there's always those, but you break even, or you made like $5 overall. So it's like you didn't burn. It's just always broke even. And moved
Everybody
on.
got paid. The lights stayed on. We moved the product, but we're probably not going to do it again.
Yeah. Well, that's like 1,000. So I have 725 active SKUs right now. So the other ones are either not available, aren't worthwhile anymore. Like the prices of a lot of things have gone up, so they're not worthwhile anymore. Or someone found liquidated something, so they have their price is just too cheap for you to compete with. Then you call the company and they're like, we don't know how they have it that cheap.
Oh yeah, they're just trying to get rid of it.
Yeah.
They bought it a while ago, found it in the corner, and like, hey, turn that into cash. I don't care what we get out of it. Get it out of here.
Yeah. So I've actually found that as a good model too for when I go to my wholesalers. You ask them, what inventory do you have that's over a year old or that's stale, that hasn't moved, that you want me to move?
That's gold.
Because they want to get rid of it, and if you have a market for it, you just buy it and sell it and let them stay with what they have that they can't sell. And then they love you. And
Reminds me very much of, and I want to get into that. One of the questions I want to ask you next, Derek, is, how do you find these wholesale accounts and how do you deal with them and interact with them and that sort of thing? But it reminds me of training I attended. This was actually at an eBay Live, I think in Boston, like a long time ago. And one of the more brilliant observations I heard from one of the guys up there, he said, if you ever see a building that has truck docks, any building with truck docks, they have a corner of that building that's stuff that they don't know what to do with. And they're waiting for someone to come along and offer pennies on the dollar to get that stuff out of there. And that's his whole business model. He was just, and that was back in the eBay days. But now that you have the ability to do some research, you can make an intelligent offer. And there's just literally inventory everywhere, opportunity everywhere. And I love the way you just set up the wholesale. Like, hey, what do you guys got? You're having trouble moving. Let me see that stuff. So send me the list. I'll let you know what I can do something about. You do a little research. Well, get on Keepa, see if any of those ASINs are moving. Grab it.
Because that's one of the ways that's all segment into your question where you said, where do you find wholesale accounts? So you could take the regular approach of looking at the back of the box, calling people, calling the numbers on the back of the box, Googling who they are.
Distributors.
Or just typing distributors in whatever state you're in. Mm-hmm. I'm in New Jersey, distributors of New Jersey, distributors of New York. And a whole listing will pop up of everybody who distributes. But you don't just want to go to a random distributor and be like, hey, I want your product, because you have no basis to say if it sells or not. That's why there's a group that loves online e-commerce and there's a part that hates online e-commerce. So then people who don't like are the people who open all these accounts, but then do nothing with them and they just let them stay. So we spent all this time in idling there.
That's exactly right. That's what frustrates you. Where there's like, hey, I want to order 3 of these 50 different products. Like, no, we want big orders.
Yeah. But so I went to a industrial park. Well, we have an industrial park in my town, which is like 12 companies. 2 have a loading dock. I went to the one that had a loading dock, and he had a sign up there, and he had a spot. He's already trying to sell his discount products to the locals. And it's like, oh no, I can sell. You just go in there as a local and you're just buying it. And he took an interest to going, hey, I've seen you a lot lately and you're buying a lot of these products. Does any of this other stuff interest you? And then he handed me a whole catalog.
He approached you.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Because he's an independent businessman at that point. He was the owner of the company running out of his own thing. So he's like trying to figure out how he can do more business. And now he just brings me deals from his friends who are also in the trucking business. Hey, my friend has a pallet of light bulbs. My friend has a pallet of these. Can you do anything with these? And like now we're looking at like nuts and berries and dried fruits, and it's just limitless possibilities, basically.
Phenomenal. So how much of your business right now is tied back to, let's say that guy had never said a word to you and you'd never gone back to that business. Mm-hmm. How much of your business wouldn't exist right now?
$150,000 a year.
In sales?
No, that's profit.
Profit.
Missing. I never really look at the sale. I've learned to not ignore the big number. The gross sales. Oh, we did like
we did.
I've done 8 points. I've done 8.6 million in
what'd you put in the bank?
since my inception. But that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It's just how much you have at the end of the day that you can go play with and do something.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy numbers that I probably should throw around more often because the numbers are pretty nuts. I've been doing e-commerce for 20 years now, and you add up all the volume. But, every month we're paying 80 different people a piece of that.
Mm-hmm. So well, I'm like, how did I find about Jim? I found about Jim when I read his 101 marketing things from like
2011, 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way back
then.
I
don't think I got a copy of it here. That's the book Dave Ramsey endorsed, man. That was big time.
Nice.
And to this day, just so you know, because you bought that book, I've never kept a penny of it, man. It's all gone to my buddy, Kevin Ramsby, who's a minister in Detroit, inner city minister. And
excellent.
Entrepreneurship heart. So that's how I got Dave Ramsey's attention. It's like, hey, I'm not going to make a penny off this. It's going to support a great ministry. Here's what it does. And we'd love your support. Yeah. So that book has done well, and I sent some nice checks to him. I actually sent one just a few days ago. But anyway, I don't want to drift too far off from your question. You said $150,000 a year in business in your pocket.
In my pocket.
Because of one conversation with a guy who had some, you had to be brave enough to go up to the truck dock and go in, but you didn't even approach this guy. That's what I love about the story. He approached you. He's like, hey, you're buying a fair amount of stuff, man. Do you want anything else?
Mm-hmm. No, it's always a funny business stories and how the world and this life works in general. It's just crazy to think about.
But there's a pattern there. And this is something I want to, and you're probably fully aware of this. And it's one of the reasons I mentioned this book. I keep it right here handy. I mention it like probably a third of the podcast episodes, Business Secrets from the Bible. One of them is relationships. They're not some kind of special bonus add-on to being a good business person. They are why business exists. Meaning, if you pursue relationships, your business is going to thrive. That's what it's built on. So to the degree that you kind of let some relationships slide and like, I need to check in on that guy, ask him what he's got for me. It's been 6 months. I probably should have called him before now. That probably cost you $500,000 not calling him before now, because he's got some amazing something going on and you guys could work together. He's happy, you're happy, customers are happy, but you just haven't connected yet. That's business. I've talked to a good handful of people. I'm getting more passionate about this topic all the time, Eric, because I've talked to a good number of people. I've been doing this long enough now. People like you that say, hey, I started listening to you, 12 years ago. And I'm burnt out, man. I'm done. This business is, and I get these calls on occasion, Eric, and they're like, I'm done. I'm just selling random widgets to strangers. And it's just, I can't do this anymore. I'm making decent money. And I'll say, I made this a whole presentation I did once. This was in Hong Kong. I changed everything I was going to present and just talked about this subject. And it's past podcast episodes are full of this too. But when's the last time you got on the phone? Better yet, when's the last time you met face to face, even if you got to wear masks? When's the last time you got in the face of some of those people who have helped you get where you are now? Some of those relationships. Who have you kind of let drift for the last 3 or 4 months? Call them. Get on a Zoom. Form a mastermind. Relationships are where it's at. I could paint an accurate picture of your business just if you simply tell me in the past 2 months, how many people have you talked to in your circle of influence about your business? How many of them have you interacted with? If you tell me I've interacted with 50, 60 people, I'm like, your business is thriving. If you say, I don't really like getting on the phone, I like automating it all and I'll send emails, like your business is struggling.
Yeah. How many times you're like, I'm going to open this email. It disappears off your chain. And you're like, oh, wait, there's that email.
Yeah.
I was it's like, as long as you're talking to somebody, as I say, my sphere of people is very small. I don't have 50, 60. I have 10. But as long as you're talking to these 5, 10 people, that's all you just, like you said, you just need to talk.
But you're maintaining the relationships. And those 10 people have a network. You already mentioned that one of them is sending people your way.
Because as well, you had talked about just relationships just in general with your community, your family, and anyone. I'm the Amazon guy. If you need to know something about Amazon, you're calling Eric. Whether it's from a family member or whatever, you're going to get in contact with me. I need to know how to do this. They're calling me. But if I'm not a mechanic, don't call me back anything mechanical because I can't.
I love you. You like being known as the Amazon guy. I would encourage you to expand that to eCommerce guy. So you're not locked in. Because I was the eBay guy for a long time. And I had to really work hard to become the e-commerce guy. I'm the guy that can help you creatively use the internet to sell anything. That's what I'm that guy. That's just a bigger net. It gets the phone ringing for more interesting reasons than just Amazon.
Yeah.
Right. But that is a beautiful elevator pitch line. Like, what do you do? Like, I'm the Amazon guy. I can help you sell anything on Amazon. You're going to have your phone ringing. Call yourself that. I would even encourage you, Eric, if you wanted to, the listeners as well, start writing a book about your experiences and about what you've seen and learned. Whether you ever publish the book or not, it's kind of irrelevant, whether it goes any bigger than just a few family members and you pass it out to a few friends. But that's what my business is based on. We've sold over 1 million copies of the book that I'm working on to update now, Silent Sales Machine version. The next version is coming out eventually when I can get to it.
Is it 12? What number is it on?
Oh, if it was number 11.
11? Okay. Well, I was going to say I was going to chuckle and say, your friend Chris Green from your Proven.
Great guy.
Can't do the Proven Amazon conference at the moment, obviously, but from that, having them up there, it's just merch by print on demand, merch on demand, whatever you want to call it. You just write your book and just put it up on Amazon platform itself, and if someone buys it, they print it, bind it, ship it, and
self-published.
You don't have to worry about anything.
The benefit of that is it becomes the best business card you could ever have, and the credibility that you have just saying, "I'm actually writing a book right now about topic X, whatever that topic is." Never mind that it's going to be 4 years before the book is finished. I'm writing a book on that subject. You call yourself the Amazon guy. I love that. Be confident in that. You call yourself that. But if you're not quite there yet, start writing a book. And this is for the listeners too. Start writing a book, whatever it is that you want to be known as, the person who's X. I'm actually working on a book right now on that topic. Forever in the mind of the person who hears you say that, you are the go-to expert for that subject. Never mind that your book may only sell 10 copies when it comes out 3 years from now. You're the expert on that topic now. Just a little, self-promotional tip. And again, that's another Hebrew concept. That's another biblical-based Hebrew concept because in the Hebrew culture, your last name reflected your occupation. You carried it boldly with you wherever you went. Wasserman was the guy that brought water. Goldsmith was the guy that made jewelry, right? Silverstein was the silver guy, right? I mean, they named their families after the family craft that they'd perfected and specialized, right? Specialization. And from generation to generation, they just got better and better at what they did. And the business was passed down from father to son. And his name, that's why you see all these businesses, Goldstein and Sons. Because the name carries skill, carries the reputation, carries that you, as soon as you meet me, you know what I'm good at. Proudly so. Right. So to the degree you can kind of embrace those concepts into your business, it serves you well. So yeah, I'm Eric, the Amazon guy. Beautiful. Be proud of it. I love it. This is a fun episode. I'm having fun here because usually and nothing wrong. There's not like there's a pattern we have to follow, but it's a lot of times it's, the story and how you found this and what you did. But this has just been like nugget after nugget, man. It's beautiful. I do want to hear some numbers though. Tell us where you were in episode 74, if you can remember back, that's been 2017 and here we are in early 2021. So there's some gaps to fill in there.
So it was $1 million. I had just in the first 17 months. So it was at that podcast, it was first 17 months was $1 million gross. And now.
But we ignore the big numbers. How'd you do? Do you remember?
How'd I do like net profit wise or like?
Yeah.
You have to ask the IRS.
They know.
they know
won't
the
tell
answer
you,
to
but
that.
they know.
Yeah. So it's like, I'm running like, I'm like a 10% guy. Like, so it's probably like $100,000.
Okay.
So now we're
first year and a half or so.
And now my lifetime is 8.6 million. So so I'm somewhere around 700,000 in gross profit, like in net profits after all the, after all the employees and all the boxes and all the labels and all that. So.
Gotcha. That's a good gig, man.
I know after 4 years
degree you could get that promises that level of income outside of maybe, doctors who work 70 hours a week or, lawyer doing the same.
So then you also have too, that you have this inventory that you've also purchased from zero. And my current inventory level is somewhere around $175,000 in purchase costs sitting in there. And then the sales value is somewhere like 400, four and a quarter or something like that.
After all expenses, 100% ROI probably, I'm guessing.
So that's where you're sitting, like you have that too as an asset,
right?
That you can sell. And I would never have fathomed that I would have another, if you liquidated it out for exactly what it cost, that I would have another 150 just sitting there.
Yeah. But that, that is cash that just hasn't hit your account yet, basically. 150,000, 170,000 of inventory. By the time it sells, is 150, 170 in your pocket, 100% ROI after all the expenses are paid. Because you're selling for 2 or 3 times what you paid and fees and expenses and prep. And so I like to operate about 100% ROI off of, put $1 in, get 2 out basis. But that's beautiful, man. It's a nice, I like that it's a nice gradual through. There's not like this huge, then we had the $3 million 2020, and then it kind of dropped back down. But it tells me that you're very methodical, mechanical in your decision making. You've signed on to the slow growth. I mean, I'm sure there's ups and downs, of course.
Oh, there are ups and downs. So I guess if you go back to, it's like the first year was 500,000, and then there was 1.4 million, and then it was like 2.2, and then I took half a year. I didn't get any new products for like 1 year, so it dipped down to like 1.9, and then I'm like, what am I doing? So then we pushed it back up to 2. I think last year was like 2.4, so it's back up 500 from where it was before, and then this year we're growing at 30%.
What are you hoping to do for 2021? What's your goal?
my goal written is 3 million
3
for
million.
gross. It's just because as you get products, you lose products, and some of your best sellers, I've lost some of my best sellers because the world of Amazon is changing, where
Sure.
the companies are like, why am I selling it to you when I can do it myself?
Have
So
you
they brought
capitalized on that at all or thought about it?
I've thought about it. I'm trying to get better at that part where I can
We have a
brand manage them.
module in the Proven Amazon course that's basically gets you to the point where you can make an offer they can't refuse in about 1 minute.
Okay.
And they're crazy to go around you and do it themselves. We've got people in our community, for example, Eric, that's all they do is help businesses get their brands and their product onto Amazon, and then they get paid. Basically, they are a commission-only sales rep for the Amazon sales that are made. So they're navigating the Amazon platform and all the, it actually helps us. The more complex Amazon gets, it's not complicated. It really isn't.
It really isn't.
From an outsider's vantage point, it's like, oh, I got to know how to do all this stuff. And that's crazy. I don't want to have to do all the marketing and the keywords and I just want to sell my product. Well, hey, I'll help you set up your account, help you populate it with your products. Notice I haven't spent any money and my client hasn't spent any money. We're just setting it up. Then as products start to sell and they start getting checks, hey, I get a percentage of that. I get 20% of everything, every check you get from Amazon. And I will do anything Amazon. If you get an email from them, if you get a complaint from a customer, if your reputation on Amazon starts to take a hit, if you want more reviews, whatever, blah, 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 I'll figure out that piece. I just get 20% of everything that sells. They don't want to have to mess with Amazon. They don't want to have to go out and hire somebody for $120,000 a year just to manage the Amazon thing. They would much rather just have their account and get checks from Amazon, and you can make that happen. Right? As a 1099 employee, or a 1099 contractor, right? You're not an employee. They don't have to hire somebody. That's magic words. Don't hire anybody to do this. Don't train anyone to do this. I've been doing this for years. Here's one of my magic phrases I like to use is, I'm part of a community of global e-commerce sellers focused on Amazon that lives, eats, breathes, and sleeps how to succeed on Amazon. And I'm saying I'll be a commission-only sales rep for you. So I want to grow your account. I just get a commission. Like, what do you pay your other sales reps? You pay me what you're paying them. Let me have that territory. And you can take it from me anytime you want. The checks are going to you, right? It's the ultimate, no one can possibly lose proposition, right? It's a great win-win. But that's the PPP module, Proven Product Partnering module inside the Proven Amazon course. That's just one of the many modules. So you need to dig into that one, man. I think so these, instead of losing these accounts, you gain new income streams and you diversify off of just having one Amazon account too. Now you've got multiple Amazon accounts.
And that's good too, in case in my travels here for 4 years, I was suspended for a week, which is trouble, because I had a product that was actually over the counter. It was a cream that you sell over the counter that you could pick up at any CVS, Walgreens. Amazon robot came along and said, nope, that's a prescription product. And I was like, it's not a prescription product. And then 3 days later, for me just ignoring them, that they're like, well, your account's been suspended. What? So then, a few emails back and forth. I went to CVS, videoed myself taking the bottle off the shelf.
Really?
Flipping it over, taking pictures of it, sending it to the salespeople, like the Amazon Seller Central people, and being like, reinstate me. I'm here on false pretenses.
And just for the people who are listening to this show and thinking, oh no, you could get suspended, and that everyone has these horror stories of these and even new sellers, when they're getting their account set up, get suspended while Amazon checks to see if they're legitimate or not. So you see suspension and Amazon are these two words that kind of overlap. Like everywhere you see the word Amazon, you see the word suspension, and everyone freaks out. Well, I'll tell you this, Eric, and I've said this a lot in our Facebook group recently. We've been teaching people how to sell on Amazon way over a decade now. I have to do the math. I can count on one hand the number of people I've seen permanently suspended off of the platform from our community. Of the thousands and thousands, we've coached 7,000 people since we started coaching. I can count on one hand the permanent suspensions that I'm scratching my head like, okay, I thought we were going to be able to get you back on, but they just kind of gave up after a few months. Like, forget it. I'm doing something else with my life. That's because 95% of the time, like you just experienced, You send a couple emails, a couple correspondence. They realize that you're not some scammer out of China that's, filling their shelves with fake counterfeit product. Those are the legit people that get suspended. Those are the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like suspending good guys. They will reinstate you eventually, is the point. Over 95% of the time, within a week or two, sometimes a little longer. And then the vast majority, like 99.9 something percent, if you're persistent, you get back in. But it can be very scary. And it does make you feel like, maybe I should be diversified here. And we're a multiple income stream community. We're all for diversification. So I think you should look into the PPP module. Even some of those products, Eric, where they're kind of going it alone, like, no, we got this. We're not going to sell to you anymore. We're going to go put our own products on Amazon. Give them 2 or 3 months. They're hitting some pain points. They're scratching their head. They're going, wait, Amazon doesn't make any sense. And we can't figure this out. You can step in and be the hero because it is painful. A lot of them will even say, you know what? Here's the deal. We're never selling our product on Amazon. We hate Amazon. We don't want our products on Amazon. You can really help them, right? Because they're frustrated. They don't understand the fee structure. They don't understand how to communicate with Amazon or whatever it is that's got them. And a lot of times it's their distribution channel, the other brick and mortar stores where they sell, the product is at price up here, and then the price keeps getting dropped down on Amazon, and they don't like that. So they don't want their product on the platform. You can help them with all those issues.
Well, yeah, that's like MAP enforcement, like creating a minimum advertised price that everyone has to abide by.
Exactly.
And then getting them all to abide by it, getting brand registered. Yeah. Like you said,
getting them brand registered is big. And that's something our team does all the time. We're helping with, we've got, I think, the best brand registry team in the industry. So if you run into issues there, our coaching team can help with that. But even if you don't know, you don't have to know all the answers. You just have to be able to make the propositions. Like, hey, we're going to figure this out together as we go. But here's the thing. I've been selling on Amazon a while. Love your product. Love selling it. Let's sell it through your account. You get the checks. And if I'm performing, you send me a % of those checks. Those checks come to you. And I'm going to do all the work. And because it's a good product, because it was selling well for you. Mm-hmm. And the other benefit is you don't have to worry about competitors anymore.
Right? Well, that's the thing. You don't have to worry about, like you said, the margin monsters are all gone. Yep. It's just all of a sudden the price is inflated to exactly where they wanted it.
So I'm thinking you've probably got 2 or 3 products in mind right now that you should make some phone calls, man.
Oh, at least a half dozen. Yeah.
Do it. Let us know how it goes. And we're here to help. This goes for all the listeners too, who have been in that scenario. If you've ever had a company come to you and say, hey, I think we're just going to sell our products on our own on Amazon. You can even be proactive about it if you want, or you can wait for them to kind of figure. We've got one product that we're doing that with right now where there's 4 or 5 sellers who've found it. Great seller, great margins. We know eventually either more sellers are going to find it, which is bad for us, or the company's going to want to sell it themselves, which is bad for us. So now's the time to talk to them and say, hey, we're one of the top sellers. We've been doing this a long time. We live, eat, breathe, and sleep selling on Amazon. You're going to run into all kinds of stuff you're not anticipating. Make us a commission-only sales rep, and let's just send checks straight to you from Amazon. If you talk to the right person, they're going to say yes every time. Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, what else from your story, man? What else have you learned? You've been doing this a while now. You still work from home? You got an office?
I still work from home. I have the majority of my work's done at my house. If I get larger shipments of things in, that I have them delivered to that first business partner I talked about, like first business gentleman he had a 4-bay warehouse. He doesn't need, I take like the back quarter of one of his bays for my larger deliveries. And
he came a little rent. Mm-hmm. Does your prep team then go there to get it ready, slap the labels on it?
Actually, he has since he has a workforce that he doesn't have enough work for them to do, I just give him the labels and pay him for his workforce. So teaching new people how to do it.
That's a great idea. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If instead of having your own warehouse, just use space from someone else and train a few people that work there. So then do you pay him per unit, or what's that payment arrangement like?
I pay him for the hourly rate of the employee. So I pay him $15 an hour for their work.
Gotcha. And so he's making a little override on that, and he's happy, you're happy. Mm-hmm. You don't need a warehouse.
I don't need a warehouse. I don't need the $4,000 a month warehouse expense.
Here we are once again, where every challenge you run into in your business, the solution is a person, relationship.
It's a relationship. Like you said, if I have some wholesale companies, everyone like using like a Gmail address, at home address, they're like, "Are you a real person? Like, are you a real company?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a real company." And they're like, "Okay." But when you have a warehouse, they can Google Map and go, "Oh, it's a warehouse. It's a
Mhm.
Ford dog
Yeah,
warehouse.
give them that
Oh, they're
address.
legit.
Right.
Just give it to him. Just
Like,
give him
wow, you
like
got a
he's a
massive
company.
warehouse. You guys are
Mhm.
legit and you
We're
don't leave
legit.
home.
Yeah, but I don't have to leave home.
I love it.
And the
And
majority of the work's
it
done through
is
the house.
as creative as we are, and as long as I've been doing this, as long as you've been doing it, there's 1,000 other ways to improve everything that we just talked about.
Hmm.
It's mindset, it's relationships, it's serving your customers well, and the opportunity is huge. So,
Exactly.
what lessons might you share? Let's talk a little bit. We've kind of talked to, I would call it the mid-tier audience today, meaning people who've made some money or they believe in the process already, and we're just like, hey, here's how to improve it, here's how to do it. But let's talk to the people who are maybe green, which is a little harder for us to connect to because I've been doing this 20 years. I've been doing it, since 2016, 17. Talk to them. Can you really build your life around the stuff we're talking about?
You can build your life around it. You're still gonna you have to have a schedule, like we had talked about at the beginning. You need to start having a schedule of some sort, like so everyone knows between 8 and 10 o'clock he's sourcing. That's his job. Or I used to run Amazon was out of my garage every Thursday. Everyone knew Thursday was Amazon day. Like it's our print pack print pack pick and ship everything in was Thursday. It used to just be all crushed into one day. 1,000 units all gone in like a day. Like the UPS people hated me, but
They hated Thursdays anyway.
they hated Fridays. They hated it
Fridays.
because it was done Saturday and done Thursday night, picking up Friday.
Right.
So you learn. So learning to scale, but for the small person, it's just persistence. You have to have a schedule and persistence and just keep at it. And eventually you will succeed if you keep with the plan they've laid out. If you lay out the plan and just keep following the plan and keep sticking with it, you'll make your first sale eventually. And then from there, you'll start making more sales, and you'll continue to grow. You also need to know the why. We started with the why years ago. Why did you start this? I started it to make an extra $5,000 a year because that's what mattered. And that was going to get me out of debt and student loans and issues. Now it's like, okay, we make $5,000 a month. Like, you know, so it's like you keep growing, you'll grow, you'll just keep growing and getting bigger. And the time you put in is the amount of the work that you put in will flourish and grow, and then you'll get the rewards from that. It's like when you're planting seeds in the spring, you can't expect a tomato in June. You have to wait until July, August to get your tomatoes.
Yes.
It's not going to be happen overnight.
Every legitimate business follows that same pattern.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the more frustrating parts for me being in the industry where, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's probably accurate. 90% of the people out there claiming they can teach you how to build a business online, 90% of them, if you follow them, you're following them into a disaster. I mean, it's just, there's so much scam out there that it's like we all toss out our common sense because it's the internet. The rules of business have always been the same. They always will be the same. It takes time to build something that is going to sustain. It takes time to build something that's going to be special and strong. And because it takes time to build relationships, it takes time to build systems. It takes time, so what you want to do is find a system that's proven and then take the time it takes to build that instead of being distracted by shiny objects and bouncing all over the place. And I'm excited to get you, Eric, and listeners too, who aren't in replans yet. I think it's going to really blow your mind what's possible off of a list of products you can pull off the shelf or order on Walmart. The margins are insane. They're literally everywhere. We have people finding 50 or 70 great replans in a single day. And then a year later, over half of them are still great sellers from that one day's work and just handing your shoppers a shopping list. It's pretty incredible. It's the ultimate inch deep, mile wide because you're never going super deep on any of these, but you will stumble across great wholesale opportunities that way too. You'll turn the jar over. Who distributes this? Who manufactures it? You start your homework, build a relationship, start ordering cases, maybe go a little deeper. But I think you're set up very well for that model, Eric, as is anybody, because the risks are so nominal. And the PPP mod idea, I'm glad we hit on that too. Proven product partnering, helping brands get onto Amazon. It's just a matter of a conversation. Some people even charge money for that stage too, by the way. If you're going to help them set up on Amazon, I need $3,000 or $4,000 to get you set up. And after that, I'm a commission-only sales rep. And that way, you're actually making some money at every stage of the process.
Well, yeah, it makes sense to charge up front for services that you're going to like. I can't do anything for free now. I can't.
No,
There's no
it
free
just
lunch.
doesn't sound as legitimate either. You want to
Mm-hmm.
charge some cash there.
Once you tell them as a consultant, I'm $175 an hour consulting fee.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can pay me $2,000. I'll get it set up. It could take, it's going to take 10, 12 hours. We'll get you,
Yeah.
I'll give you a slight discount.
Yeah. And you've got the credibility now. You've sold enough. They know who you are, and you've leveraged these relationships again. Fantastic. Any other tips or strategies before we wrap this one up?
No, just believe in you. Just believe in yourself, and eventually you can do great things.
Yeah, it is mind. It really is mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Mindset is huge. Who was it? Was it, I think Chuck Swindoll? I think it's the guy that said life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you respond to it.
Mm-hmm. If that was, it's a good,
something like that.
That's a good analogy,
right? I mean, because the mindset will get you through a whole lot of obstacles if you just keep plowing through.
Mm-hmm.
But that's awesome, man. Well, it's good hanging out with you again. Good hearing the update. This was a great episode. I had a lot of fun. I learned a few things, and hopefully the listeners did too. You're a great guest, Eric. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me on. Pleasure as always, Jim.
And for the listeners who hung out with us a little bit today, hope you had as much fun as we did. That's always the goal. But to be honest with you, I would be doing this even if I wasn't recording these and putting them out there for a bunch of people to listen to later. Because like I said, I learn and grow, and this is all relationship building. So thanks for being a part of our community, our podcast listening community. You're the most important part of this show. We got a whole team that helps put these things together and schedule the guests and clean up the audio and all that. But you're the most important piece of it, the listener. We want to hear from you. We want your feedback. We want your ideas for future episodes. Hey, if you're succeeding and you're in our community, we want to hear from you. Let's share your story, how you got to where you are. I was asked recently, Eric, you might be interested. Someone asked me and said, hey, why don't you ever share the failure stories? Like, anybody can fail. I mean, that's easy. Like, go spend $50,000 right now on the first product you find on the shelf at your closest grocery store and sell it. Like, you're going to fail. Did you want to hear a podcast about that? No, we want to hear people, because every successful entrepreneur has had a series of failures. And I love that we dove into some of those with Eric today. And I can appreciate wanting to hear some of those bumps in the road. But I like interviewing people who are succeeding, because it shows you it can be done. They can do it. All these other people can do it. All this 1,000 people with testimonies can do it. I can do it too. Hopefully that helps your mindset. So that's what we bring on the show. And if that's you, we'd love to have you as a guest. Reach out to us, and we'll talk about setting up and having you on the show. But to all the business building warriors out there, thanks for joining us. Eric, your family, thank them for loaning you to us today. We appreciate that. And we'll have another great episode for you again real soon.